Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 22-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living near Frankfurt, Germany. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record all of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. If you like the series, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a ton. So in today's episode, we are kind of starting the meat of this next training phase after our cushion day that we had the day before yesterday, before our rest day. We just had a single day of climbing, a couple sessions at Studio Bloc, short sessions to get the body going again. We were able to actually climb pretty hard, which I was a bit surprised by. I expected to feel a lot worse than I did. So it means that we can just kind of get right into the swing of things today, which is great. Today we're at the other location of Studio Bloc in Mannheim. I haven't been climbing here in a little bit. I think the last time we climbed here was when like a heat wave was going through Europe, and it was that day we had to climb in like 37-degree heat. And so yeah, it's been probably a couple weeks, and that means we have a lot of new boulders up in the gym. Some really good looking boulders. You can see that blue 7 that we just started with on the comp wall was really cool. Had some cool sequences. And yeah, like the setting here is like just as good as the other location. I think they have a few different setters at this gym versus the Darmstadt location, and yeah, the boulders are just as good. And when I was scoping out the boulders for the session, I was getting really excited. There were a lot to choose from, and they all looked really doable too. So I knew that I had 2 hour-long sessions, and it was gonna be a perfect amount of time to kind of attempt what seems to be like just a theme of my training recently, which is to send all the boulders in the gym. I always kind of love it. It just provides like a nice challenge for the day, and it's like very motivating. It almost feels like I'm doing a competition, like my own little personal competition, like a scramble format comp, by like saying that there's probably like, 10 7s in the gym and like, a handful of 6s as well that look challenging, that I can just see if I can do them all before I leave the gym today. So it's always a lot of fun. And it ended up happening today. As you can tell by the title of the video, I had some great training sessions. I felt super solid. I feel like I'm really not like I'm finding my shape, and what I mean by that is, sure, I feel strong. Definitely not the strongest I've ever felt in my life, but I can feel myself getting there, even just after like a month of training or a month and a half of training, like super seriously again. But what I mean when I say that I'm feeling in shape is my movement skills are just like, I really feel like I might be leveling up, honestly. Like a lot of these times, like I feel like my body is just kind of gaining some new intuition on how to climb better. And you can see this, we just did this black 7 that was really cool and powerful. Took a few tries, had a cool little hand flip at the beginning, and then some physical ending. That was my style. But yeah, what I mean is that, especially because we're climbing in these amazing gyms with this amazing setting, and I don't have to make boulders up for myself. I can just go in and climb, which is what you want to do when you're training. Just have like the boulders provided for you, and good quality boulders at that. Super creative, like a whole variety of styles. Like I couldn't ask for a better setup than these sort of 3 gyms that we have to choose from. The two Studio Bloc locations, Mannheim and Darmstadt, and then the Boulderwelt in Frankfurt. These 3 gyms are really providing some good stuff for me, and I'm noticing that my body is learning how to climb better without me even realizing it. And this is actually an interesting topic that me and Maddie have explored and kind of read about as well. We were reading a book a few months ago called The Inner Game of Tennis. For any of you who have read that, it gives this really good analogy. Actually, it kind of talks about head game from the perspective of a tennis player, like a pro tennis player, and it's very relatable to climbing. Actually, it's freaky how relatable this book is to climbing. It's a really good read. I would recommend it. But my biggest takeaway from this book actually is something that I was kind of thinking about today, when I was realizing how my body is really just, I feel like it just knows what to do sometimes. And I was really realizing it throughout this whole day of training. I'm like, okay, I see this boulder, I think I see the sequence, but then the minute movements and positions that my body needs to find, I can't necessarily think of that myself, but my body will just find them. And I feel like I've really been improving just my climbing intuition recently with all the variety of bouldering that we've been doing, and then you combine it with the strength training that we've been doing, and it's just a really great combination. But yeah, me and Maddie's biggest takeaway from this book, I'll just pause to talk about this climb here actually really quick that we're trying. This is the hardest climb of the day. I would say I don't end up setting it in this session. You can see I'm trying this move a lot. I ended up sending it in the second session. You have this pinch, this pretty slowly volume, you got a thumb catch, and what I'm trying here is I'm trying to jump to this volume, which is quite slopey, and then flip the left hand to a really, really bad thumb catch. It's like really slopey, and it's a very hard move. It felt super possible, but I ended up finding some better session, or some better beta in the next session, which will be tomorrow's episode, so you should check that out. But yeah, I don't end up sending this boulder today. It was super, super cool, like boulder with these simple volumes. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying is the biggest takeaway from the inner game of tennis that me and Maddie had was this analogy where it talks about something called self one and self two. Now, I really love this analogy, and Maddie likes it too. Basically, what it is saying is that you have like these two kind of personalities in your mind, and how they interact with each other and how you are able to control the interaction is going to be very important, or like it's very important to understand this for competing, just for training, for climbing, for anything you do, any sort of activity. And there's like a lot of ways you can apply this idea in your life as well. So the idea is that self one is like, so let's say self two is your conscious self. So self two is like the one that's gonna like, look at two flavors of ice cream and then pick which one you want. It's the one that kind of, the voice in your head, like it's you, right? It's you making the decisions. You can equate self two as being your brain, and you can equate self one as being, actually, you know what? Let's switch them. I think in the inner game of tennis it says self one is the conscious self. I had it backwards. So self one is like your brain. It's you, the one who makes the decisions and the one who just decides everything. And self two is your body rather than your brain. And like oftentimes your body can do these things that you yourself don't necessarily even know how to do and are way too complicated for your mind to even process every little kind of neuron that has to fire in your brain in order to execute a task. And an example of this is just walking. It's not like you're thinking about every single tiny muscle in your body that you need to move when you're walking down the street or when you just like roll over in bed. These sort of things, you just kind of, like, let's say you want to roll over in bed. You kind of just tell your body, I want to roll over in bed, and it will do it. It kind of does it for you without you needing to think of every single thing to do. And so this obviously applies to climbing. It's like you can be setting up for like a coordination dyno and you have an idea of what you need to do, but basically upon the launch of this dyno, your body's going to execute the movement for you. And the really amazing part of this analogy that I found really was helpful to apply to competing is that the way you get messed up when you're competing is when self one and self two are fighting. Basically, when they're in an argument, that's when you can really get screwed up. When self one, your conscious self, your brain, starts thinking that it knows better than self two, that's when you tense up and you're not relaxed and you're not able to execute what your body already knows how to do. So like, let's say, you're on your last attempt of this boulder, you really want to send it, and then self one is like, okay, I got to grab really, really hard, and I got to just try as hard as I can, and then that's how I'm going to send this boulder. And so you kind of force your body to do that. You might fall as a result of this. You might be activating too many muscles and tiring yourself out, whereas, let's say you had no pressure in this situation, and you just kind of went with the flow and let your body do what it normally would. Your body would just kind of be a bit more relaxed and only use the amount of energy that's required. And by doing so, you conserve your power and you use it only when you need to. And you have a better success of completing what you're trying to do. And so this often happens in competition, and that's what getting flustered is. When you get flustered, you try to kind of overpower your body and tell it what to do and compensate with your mind. And oftentimes, it will interfere with self two, which is your body, your like non-conscious self, basically. Self two is smarter than self one. That's the biggest part to remember about this analogy, is that self two always knows better, like in most situations. Like, sure, maybe self one can give some recommendations, but the way you got to think about it is self one gives, you ask basically self two to do things. And then the way to use this analogy and put it into practice is that you need to learn to trust self two. If you know that you've trained your body well, and you know that your body knows how to climb and it's got the strength, all you got to do is ask it to do things for you. And this is where you can really find success in when you're competing and take a lot of pressure off of your performance or off of your like an attempt that you need to execute. If what I've been doing now after I've kind of adopted this analogy and like kind of believe in it is like, let's say I'm setting up for coordination dyno. If I know kind of like maybe my tips and tricks that I need to do the dyno, and I just ask my body, I basically, right before I launch, I ask my body to do all those things, and then I let go. I take the pressure off, I'm breathing easy, and then my body goes and does it. Rather than saying, okay, I'm gonna do this dyno, I'm gonna grip this hold really hard, and I gotta pull. And it doesn't even need to be like dynos or coordination moves. It can just be basic physical climbing. Also, I'm dropping the finish of this boulder that I've been working a lot, and it was really sad and depressing, but I send it next try. But anyway, trusting self too, and trusting your body to do things on its own without kind of forcing it to do things and resulting it and making your body just like be too tense and not be able to function how it's supposed to and how it knows how to, is a really useful idea that me and Maddie have adopted and are trying to put into practice. And so anyway, all this is to say, actually first let me pause and talk about this boulder really quick. This boulder is a very unsuspecting looking boulder. Like you can just see it looks like a bunch of small crimps, small holds, and it's like, okay, it doesn't necessarily look like it's that interesting, but this boulder climbs amazingly. Like look at the sequence. It's so cool and so creative. I would imagine I'm doing the intended sequence because it makes so much sense. It feels so logical. Whoever set this is out of their mind. And I know that I've been saying this all the time recently, like, oh, the setters are so good. But honestly, in my opinion, like setters don't get enough praise. All they get is like, complaints. And I'm always one to go tell the setters they're doing a good job when they are. And I encourage you to do so as well at your local gym. Go compliment the setters because they need it. But yeah, that last boulder climbed super well. And that was a really desperate send as well by me. That was like very much my anti-style. I had to dig deep to just try to trust my feet on those volumes. And especially on that last move when I had already dropped it and I went to go send it again, I had a lot of pressure. And I was kind of doing what I talked about, is instead of like feeling all that pressure and like compensating by tensing my muscles really hard and trying to grab one of these holds and not let go, I just let go and I said, I stuck that move individually when I climbed up and did it. My body knows how to do it. I can trust my body to go and execute this move for me. So when I found the position, I bumped up my hand a little bit more on the wall too. I just said, okay, body, self too, go stick this move for me. And it goes and it does it. And by letting my body take over, it only uses the amount of energy that it needs to. And it was able to, I think that's kind of a trick that helped me stick that move. And if I tensed up and got too freaked out at the end, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So anyway, that whole analogy, all that goes to say is, well, not only is this idea helpful and you can use it yourself and put it into practice, but when I say that I've been feeling in shape, like recently and especially today, is like my climbing intuition is just getting stronger. And basically what I mean by that is my self too is getting stronger. And it's like I really am starting to, and when this happens, you just start to trust yourself. You trust yourself too even more, and it just builds like a better relationship between the self one and the self two. And it's like you can really notice it when you think about this analogy and this idea. And when these two selves are working in harmony, it's really a magical thing. So yeah, I've been trusting myself too a lot more lately because it's been feeling really smart and it's getting smarter. And that's all thanks to the 2 Studio Blocks and the boulder belts. So anyway, that was part 1 of 2 of today's day of training. That was our morning session. Tune in to tomorrow's episode to see us finish off all the boulders in Studio Bloc Mannheim. It was a really great day of training.